Epic aviation stories, from Wright Brothers to modern miracles. For over a century, brave souls have been strapping themselves to all manner of contraptions, defying gravity and pushing the limits of what's possible. From the Wright Brothers' first flight to modern-day air disasters and heroic rescues, the sky has always been a canvas for human ingenuity and adventure. Buckle up, folks. We're about to take off on a journey through some of the most remarkable tales in aviation history. Now, everybody knows the Wright brothers, right? Orville and Wilbur, two guys tinkering away in their bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio. These guys were obsessed with the idea of flight. They studied birds, built kites, even designed their own wind tunnel. After years of trial and error, countless crashes and near misses, they finally did it. December 17th, 1903, at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, their flimsy contraption, the Wright Flyer, took to the skies. It wasn't pretty, folks, just 12 seconds, a measly 120 feet, but it was a flight, the first of its kind. These two bicycle mechanics from Ohio unlocked the skies for all mankind. So, picture this. You're cruising at 30,000 feet, sipping your ginger ale, when suddenly, bam, you hit a flock of birds. That's what happened to TACA Flight 110, a Boeing 737 on its way to New Orleans back in 1988. Birds and planes, they don't mix. These feathered fiends knocked out both engines, leaving the plane and everyone on board gliding silently towards the earth. Captain Carlos Dardano, a former stunt pilot with nerves of steel, takes over. Dardano spots a narrow strip of grass, a drainage canal really, alongside a NASA facility. With the skill of a surgeon and the guts of a lion tamer, he manages to land that plane, saving all 103 souls on board. The passengers disembarked, probably a little wobbly-legged, on a runway that wasn't even supposed to be there, and Captain Dardano earned himself a place in aviation legend. Now, this is a story you've probably heard, folks, but it's one of those tales that never gets old. January 15th, 2009, US Airways Flight 1549 takes off from LaGuardia Airport in New York City, headed for Charlotte, North Carolina. Less than 2 minutes after takeoff, the unthinkable happens. The plane, an Airbus A320, collides with a flock of geese. Both engines kaput. In the cockpit, Captain Sully Sullenberger, a former fighter pilot with ice water in his veins, takes stock of the situation. No engines, a plane full of passengers, and the skyscrapers of Manhattan looming ahead. Sully calmly assesses his options, communicates with air traffic control, and makes a split-second decision that would define his career and save 155 lives. He's going to land the plane in the Hudson River. With incredible skill and precision, Sully guides that crippled aircraft down, gliding between the buildings, avoiding bridges and making a picture-perfect landing on the frigid water. The passengers and crew evacuate onto the wings, where they're quickly picked up by rescue boats. Not a single life lost. A miracle, they called it. The miracle on the Hudson. And Sully became a national hero. Proof positive that sometimes, even in the face of disaster, cool heads and steady hands can make all the difference. Chapter 4. The Tuskegee Airmen flying high against all odds. This is a story about courage, determination, and overcoming some of the ugliest chapters in American history. This is the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. Imagine this, it's the 1940s, World War II is raging, and America needs pilots. But there's a problem. Back then, Jim Crow laws were still in effect, and segregation was the law of the land. African Americans were told they weren't smart enough, weren't brave enough to fly fighter planes. The Tuskegee Airmen set out to prove them wrong. These brave men trained at Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama, facing prejudice and discrimination every step of the way. They flew escort missions over Europe, protecting American bombers from enemy fire. The Red Tails earned the respect of their fellow pilots, black and white alike. They are true American heroes. Chapter 5. United Flight 300, When the Gear Won't Go. You ever get that feeling in your gut, something's just not right? Well, imagine that feeling at 31,000 feet. That's what happened on United Flight 300 back in 1989. The plane, a DC-10, was cruising from Honolulu to San Francisco when things went south, literally. The landing gear decided to take an early vacation. Wouldn't retract, wouldn't inflate, just kind of dangled there like a loose tooth. Not ideal, folks, not ideal at all. The pilots tried everything to coax that gear into cooperating. They flew upside down, they shook the plane, they even considered landing on the belly of the aircraft, but nothing worked. With nerves of steel and a whole lot of skill, they managed to land that plane, sparks flying, metal screeching, but everyone on board, safe and sound. It wasn't pretty, folks, but it was a testament to the power of training, teamwork, and maybe a little bit of luck. United Flight 300, it's a reminder that even when things go wrong, there's always hope, as long as you've got a skilled crew at the helm. Now, this next story, it's one of those tales that makes you scratch your head and say, "You're pulling my leg, right?" But I swear, folks, this one's true. Picture this. World War I, the skies are filled with biplanes and dogfights, and a young German observer named Otto Berla is up for a routine reconnaissance mission. He's flying in an Albatros C.3 two-seater, minding his own business, when suddenly the plane hits a patch of turbulence. Now, turbulence is never fun, but this was different. It was so violent, so unexpected, that it literally threw Otto Berla out of the plane. Gone, folks, vanished into thin air. His pilot searched frantically for any sign of his comrade, but to no avail. He assumed the worst, figuring poor Otto had met his end somewhere down below. Now here's where things get really strange. The pilot continues his mission, heartbroken but determined to complete his duty, and as he's flying back to base, he hears a strange thumping sound coming from the rear of the plane. He turns around, and what does he see? Otto Berla, back in the plane, pounding on the plywood decking from inside the fuselage. Now this story, folks, it's a real head-scratcher. March 8th, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 souls, takes off from Kuala Lumpur, bound for Beijing. It's a routine flight, a milk run, nothing out of the ordinary, except it never arrives in Beijing. In fact, it disappears from radar screens less than an hour after takeoff, vanishing without a trace over the Gulf of Thailand, and that's where the mystery begins. Search parties from multiple countries scoured the area, looking for any sign of the missing aircraft. They found debris, they analyzed satellite data, they interviewed experts, but the plane and the people on board remained missing. Theories abound, folks, everything from pilot suicide to alien abduction, but the truth, it remains elusive. MH370 remains a ghost, a chilling enigma in the annals of aviation history. This final story, folks, it's a tough one, a stark reminder of how quickly things can go wrong, even for the most experienced pilots. It's March 27th, 1977, and the Los Rodeos airport on the island of Tenerife is shrouded in a thick fog. Visibility is terrible, barely 100 feet in front of your face. A bomb threat at another airport had diverted several flights, including 2 Boeing 747 jumbo jets, the largest passenger aircraft in the world at the time, one KLM Flight 4805, the other Pan Am Flight 1736, both packed with passengers eager to reach their destinations. Now imagine this, 2 behemoths of the sky, stuck on the ground, tensions high, everyone anxious to get going, and then a series of miscommunications, misunderstandings, and bad decisions collide with the unforgiving fog. The KLM flight, cleared for takeoff, begins its roll down the runway, unaware that the Pan Am jet is still taxiing across the same runway. By the time the KLM crew sees the Pan Am jet through the fog, it's too late. The resulting collision is catastrophic, the deadliest aviation accident in history. 583 people lost their lives that day, a tragedy that sent shockwaves through the aviation industry. Tenerife, it's a story etched in the memory of aviation, a cautionary tale that reminds us to never let our guard down. And there you have it, folks. Just a small taste of the incredible stories that aviation has to offer. From those first shaky flights to modern-day miracles and mysteries, the history of aviation is a testament to the human spirit, our unquenchable thirst for adventure, and our relentless pursuit of the unknown. These stories remind us of the bravery, skill, and sometimes sheer luck that have shaped the history of aviation. Stay tuned for more incredible tales from the skies.